In this video, we will take our water pumping project that has the second water pump with the evaporation slider, and we're going to add data collection on it. We also use the term instrumentation when we talk about computer models, and this is part of lesson 3 of the shared water resources. So we have that working model that has the evaporation rate and the pumps. So I'm going to remix this, and we are going to now add the data collection. So in the case of Star Logo Nova, data collection is in the form of data boxes as well as graphs. So that's what we'll do in this video. They are widgets, so we're going to edit widgets and we'll find a data box there. And what we're wanting to do is collect data for each of the new pumps. So we're going to add that widget. Notice that the widget jumps up to the upper left as always, and we can move that. Now this score box here, we have a choice. We could either trash this or we could rename it. So I'm going to rename it. So you have to click in that gray area there. Okay, and so you can make adjustments here. So we have them created, but now we have to add the code. So we're going to take a look. Always you want to start in the world, and with the setup you want to clear those data collection boxes, and so that's going to be an interface, and you can see here that there is this box, this block called set data box 2, and this is the one where you choose which one, and we're going to set it to 0, and we're going to do that for also for the second data box. So we can take a look very quickly and see that they're now started at 0, but they're not going to go up in value because we haven't coded that yet. And that's going to happen in the area where the forever is happening. And remember, we have a procedure for pump and then a procedure for the second one, and these pumps are differentiated by color. So what we want to do here is whenever the if it hits that yellow pump, it's going to change something in the data box, and I'm going to make a little space here, and that data box is going to go up by 1. So we need a math block here, the +1, and we're going to go back to interface and get another block. See, there are 2 blocks that have to do with data boxes, and this one fits nicely here, and so we're working with pump 1, and again that's pump 1. So how this is going to read is that, so if this turtle agent, the blue sphere, hits the yellow end of the pump, it's going to set the data box to whatever it was plus 1. And then it's going to continue with its just regular actions that we had coded before. Save it, run it, and we should see that pump 1 goes up. So you're going to do that also for pump 2, and I'll pause this and come back and we'll add a graph. Okay, so we have our code here for the second pump. I know it's a little bit jumbled, but it basically has the same information as the for pump 1, and we want to make sure that that works correctly. And indeed, we do see that both of them are going up. So now we'd like to visualize the data using a graph. And a graph is also a widget, so we want to edit widgets, we want to get a new one, and we're going to use a line graph, and we're going to give it a name, the graph a name, and add that. Now graphs are quite large and they're always in the upper left, so we can go ahead and move them. I do want to caution you, however, I do not recommend that you put them all the way to the edge or over by the trash, the widget trash, because you will have potentially a problem with the this widget, the graph widget, loading properly. So we can put it to the edge there, and what we can do is move Spaceland around. All right, so that is once it's fixed in location, we can move Spaceland to better visualize things and just leave the graph kind of to the right, but not to the far, far right. I'm going to go back to edit widgets because what I'd like to do is give these X and Y axes names, and then also we're going to add what's called a series and get that coded in. So we double click in the gray area and our edit graph widget comes up. So the x-axis is going to be the horizontal, and we typically use time for that, or ticks. So that's what's going to go as time goes along, what happens. And the y-axis in this case is going to be related to amount of water. And you can see that those just changed. And now we have a series 1 that's the default name. So we double click on that color and we can rename this. And so we're collecting data from 2 water pumps in this example. So we want to call those so that we have different lines. And I can choose a color here. So my first water pump is kind of yellowish, so but I don't want it be that yellow might be too faded, so I chose something that is possible to see, and so that name changes, or that color changes. And we're going to add a series. We're going to double click on that series. This is going to be the second water pump. And again, we can change the color. That was white, so I'm going to just give it a gray, I guess, and I'm going to hit accept. Now I do caution you at this time, if you add a series, you cannot delete that series. So you could end up with a bunch of unused series here. I would just, your choice at that point is either to start a new graph or to just leave it alone. So now we're going to get out of edit widgets, and we have to code this information, and we're going to do that in the world, and I typically just do it at the very, very bottom. Move this out of the way and get a new forever while forever toggled, and our graph code is going to go in here. And notice that we have a couple graph blocks, and what we're going to have here, so we want to update the line graph with every tick, so that's going to go in the forever, and which line graph it is. In this case, we only have one, and this one is related to the series that we just named. So this is for water number 1, or pump number 1. That might have been a better name, pump number 1. So our x-axis, remember, is time, and we go into environment and we find the clock. And our y-axis is going to be the water that's pumped from the first pump. And so we have a couple choices on how we could do that. And in this case, we're just going to use the same information that's in the data box for pump number 1. So we're going to also code that for our other pump, and we're going to, whoops, where's the data box? And I'm going to go back to environment and get the clock. And so that's the basic code that we can use for this. But I do want to give some suggestions. Always in the setup, it's nice to reset everything. So we reset our Spaceland and we reset our data boxes, but we also want to reset our clock to 0. If you don't do this, the ticks just keep going up and up, and you'd see these horizontal line doesn't reset back to 0. So now it will. And we want to also go to interface and get the clear line graph. So we'll save this and run code. I do want to caution it typically when you're working with the graph code, you often need to reload it. So I can tell that my graph isn't working, but my data boxes are. So I'm going to refresh the page, and that sort of locks in the code so that the computer will run it effectively. Move Spaceland out of the way, we set up, and so we can see that our data boxes are going up, and now we're getting the visualization on the graph. And you could run this as long as you wanted. So right now it's going to be pretty similar data, but what you want to do is now the next step is to have kids start running their own experiments. So we've added, you know, the potential for something like a variable here, and we can collect data. So there's two pumps. What if one was more shallow than the other or wider than the other? And you'd be able to track that change and see if it has any effect on the data. So that's it for now. Just kind of want to play with the ideas of data collection and experimentation, getting kids to use their computer model to conduct experiments. Thank you.